Hey, this is Deepak Patel, and welcome to this video where I would like to talk about niche strategy for financial advisor and wealth manager. So, if you are a financial advisor or wealth manager who wants to get clients in 2019 and grow their practice, then the strategy that I'm going to share with you in this particular video is going to be extremely useful. So, here's what I'm going to cover today. What is niche strategy for financial advisor? Why is it crucial? And how to select a niche? So I'm going to cover all the fundamentals about the niche, and I'll also show you a little bit of a search online to see how do you go about searching for a niche and why this makes sense. So let's talk about what is a niche. Well, niche is really a group of people that we can use in targeting when it comes to our business and marketing strategy. Now, the traditional niches are things like doctors, lawyers, accountant, plumbers, electricians, business owners, etc. So as you see, these are a group. You can group all the doctors into a group, and lawyers and accountants and so on and so forth. And when you group them, it becomes easier for you to go and propose a solution to these people. And that's what typically the niche means. And focusing on niche is an important thing, and I'll talk about that in the next slide. Now, traditionally, these are some of the niches that we know of. What now has happened is a lot of different niches have emerged as the world has become more open with internet technologies and all the information age that we have been in. It has become much easier to find different emerging niches that I call, which also are a great way to target people. So you don't have to stick with the traditional niches because a lot of these niches have been targeted by different financial advisors. And if you are trying to go after these niches, then you might run into some challenges. For example, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to go after a niche like doctors, because doctors being generally in the category of high net worth and people with a good amount of money, a lot of veteran financial advisors have already targeted doctors for years, and most doctors have a good financial advisory firm that they have been working with and they trust. So if you were to go and target them, chances are you're going to face an uphill battle. But the good news is you don't have to necessarily target the niches that are saturated, so to speak. There are a lot of different emerging niches. For example, single mom business owner. So there are a lot of single moms who are starting their businesses or have an established businesses. So targeting them becomes much easier than targeting doctors, for example. Similarly, there are fitness business owners. There are a lot of fitness studios, yoga studios, and things of that nature. So again, that becomes a niche that you can target, and they all seem to have a similar characteristic like any other group. Again, a lot of young entrepreneurs, as you know, a lot of people have started online business, internet businesses, on all kinds of business if you go online. So young people these days are not necessarily going and taking full-time jobs. A lot of people are starting businesses. So targeting that group of people for financial advice would be a good strategy. Divorced individual, again, a lot of people have been getting divorced for various reasons, and that becomes a critical event in life for them to do financial planning. So that could be a niche if you have desire and interest in targeting. And similar to this, there are many other niches. I just wanted to give you an idea in terms of what a niche means. Again, the niche means it's a group of people that have similar characteristic, which means they have a similar set of problems that you can help and address. Now, here's why niche makes sense. And here's why, if you're a financial advisor or wealth manager, you must consider this as a strategy. So, first of all, selecting a niche is a differentiation strategy because, as you know, everybody is trying to go after everyone. And if you are trying to target your products and services to everybody, then you are going to have a very hard time being very different. You are going to sound and look like every other advisor that that group of people is seeing. The other challenge that comes with not focusing on niche is you will not be able to focus. You will be all over the place, which means you won't really have a good knowledge of who you can help with. And pain points and problem of your customer is going to be a primary driver of your success, which means if you are able to solve the pain point and problem, then you stand to gain. Now, it's very hard to solve everybody's pain point and problem because their pain points and problems are very different. A doctor's problem are very different than a single mom business owner, for example. So if you are trying to advise both the groups, then you need to have expertise in problem management of both the groups. And that's when you are going to start to realize that this is not going to be a good strategy because it won't allow you to get good at any one thing. Now, being focused on niche also makes you very magnetic because it makes you an expert. So if you are focusing, for example, on single mom business owner, and if you spend some time learning about them, then over time, as you start to build your practice and have more clients who fall in that category, you will start to become the expert when it comes to helping that group of people, which is going to make you a lot more magnetic, and more people are going to get attracted towards you. Or even when you start your outreach program, you will have greater amount of success because you will be seen as an authority in your space, which is going to simplify your marketing, which is extremely important. It's going to simplify your sales. It will allow you to automate your marketing and selling. So here's what it means. So let's say if you're trying to go after a group of people, when you go after people, you have to create a message when you reach out to them. And if you focus on one group, then your message can be extremely tailored to that group of people, which allows your marketing to be simplified. Which means now you don't have to come up with two matched messages or three or four or five if you are going after all kind of niches versus going after just one niche. Also, in sales process, you have a very good view of what steps you need to follow. Because if you're trying to sell to a doctor versus if you're trying to sell to an engineer, and if you're trying to sell to a single mom business owner, then they all have different way of evaluating your solutions. So you probably know from experience, if you have sold to different people, that some people need 2 meetings, for some people might need 4 and 5 meetings. And this is where your sales process becomes very different depending upon who that sales process is executed against. And with a focus, it becomes easy to automate your marketing and selling. So for example, if you have an automated email sequence like what I create for my client when we have an outreach program, the messages that goes into email are very tailored to a group of people. Now if you only have one large target group that you're going after, it becomes easier now to have the same set of emails go to everybody, which becomes much easier versus having 5, 6, 7, 8 different versions of email. And then your marketing at the back end, the automation becomes really complex to manage, and you will not be able to manage it. You won't be able to track it. And eventually you just will not do the automation. And having no automation in your business is a disaster. You will never be able to grow your practice without having systemized automation, which you need to create. And this is what I do in my work working with financial advisor. In the absence of a niche, all this is going to become multiple time effort, and you will find yourself working a lot more harder than working at scale. And that's the main reason why you want to be focusing on niche. So if I were to visualize for you what a niche means, if you look at your own space, there are many advisors, right? So just look at your own city and town. There are a lot of other advisors out there, including advisors working in your own firm and so on and so forth. And similarly, there are all different type of clients, right? So you might have a doctor, you might have a lawyer, you might have a business owner, all those different people. And that is typically the situation. Now, what happens here is most advisors are trying to compete with every other advisor. They all look the same, like what you see on this slide here. And they all think that they're all the clients are same as well. So this is where the major mistake made by advisor when it comes to their marketing and even their business strategy. The advisor themselves are all same, so all the advisors look same, and they all think that all their clients are same as well, because the message that they use to reach out to clients is exactly the same, which is not the case. And this form of marketing doesn't work because every group of client is different, and you need to differentiate yourself from your peer. Now, here's what a niche strategy can make it happen for you. So, first of all, it will differentiate you from all your competition. So, you will stand out from the crowd. And also, because you're focusing on one group of people, you will become an expert in that group and you literally would not care about the other group of people. So, for example, if this is you as an advisor and you're focusing on a specific group of people, so let's say this is the fitness owner, for example. If that's your niche, then you are trying to find fitness owners and help them with their financial planning, which means you now look very attractive towards fitness owner because you are now an expert when it comes to helping fitness owner. Because if you help 4 5 6 fitness owner, they all seem to have common problem, and now you have figured out a way to help the fitness owner in terms of their problems that they're facing. So you become different from all your competition, and you can now start to see the complexity that exists on your customer's environment, and you are spending your time to learn about how to solve the complexity with your financial solution, and that will make you laser focused. So you're not worrying about what a doctor, what a lawyer, or what a individual might need. You're just focusing on that one group of person, and that becomes extremely powerful because now you can focus on one problem solution as opposed to trying to solve all the problem. Now, this is a strategy that can be applied to any business. And if you look at my business, I started being a generic consultant working with a different group of people. And then I went through the same challenges. And the reason I decided to focus on, financial advisors and wealth manager is for the same reason that the advisors need to focus as well. And since I started to do that, I have been able to focus on understanding all the challenges and complexity that you, financial advisors, have. And I have been able to go really deep in finding solutions for my client and the campaign that I'm creating for them. When I'm doing my work, the content strategy, everything is just to help financial advisor. And my goal is to become the best person to help financial advisor get client. And I could not do that if I were to focus on helping a real estate agent, for example, get client, because the client journey and the process for a real estate agent is very different from financial advisor. And just focusing on financial advisor will allow me to become very good at it and scale my business with repetition. Because if you want to grow large business, if you want to get to 6 figures and 7 figures and more, we all need to be able to rinse and repeat. We have to be able to replicate. So if you want to replicate your success, then you want to pick a group of people, learn everything about that group of people, and then repeat. And that is one of the most powerful business strategy, and it is the most powerful for advisor, because in advisory services you're not going to need thousands of customers, right? You at most you're going to need few hundred customers, and as you start to grow your practice, you will start to realize to get fewer high value client, right? And that probably is your dream as well. You want to get maybe 50 to 80 clients, maybe 100 clients, but each of them with 1 to 2 or $5 million asset with you. That would be an ideal thing to get to, like 100 to 200 million dollars in asset that you want to manage in your career, or even more. But the goal would be to just get few. So if you only need few hundred people at best, why are we trying to go after hundreds of thousands of people in your city, in your locations? All you need is like 100, 200, 300 clients. So you don't really have to boil the ocean. You just need to pick a group of people and spend time to become the best in solving their problems. And if you do that, you will be a top advisor in that space. And again, picking a niche is the cornerstone, and it solves many more problems that exist in your business today, because you don't want to have a spaghetti business model where you're trying to do all kinds of forms for all kinds of different kind of customers. They all have different characteristics. They'll stress you out. Look, I help advisors get client, but I also know that having all kinds of client and different variety of client will be the biggest stress that you're going to have in your business, and you're not going to enjoy your practice if you don't have the right client. Niche also allows you to focus and get the right client. And again, they all will be similar. If you focus on a group of people, then they generally are very similar as opposed to different people. So selection of a niche is not just a marketing strategy, to get client, but is a fundamental business strategy to create a scalable, a fun, enjoyable business where you can provide the most value, have the most fun working with your client. So I hope you get that point. I've stressed it enough. Now let's talk about how, because you might be wondering, well, Deepak, it makes sense now. I understand this whole concept. How do I go about finding my niche? So good questions. Let's talk about that. So first of all, you want to do the math, which is number of clients that you need to the market size. Now, for most of you, this math should be pretty easy, as I just said. All if you need is 100 to 200 clients, then just make sure that whatever niche you select, it has enough people for you to be going after, because obviously not everybody is going to be ready to do business with you, not everybody is going to become a client, not everybody is going to close. So you need to put all the percentage. So if you need 100 people, make sure at least the market size is few thousands of people. That means you have a pretty good shot of getting 100 clients in a duration that is making sense to you. So math is always very important. You don't want to pick a very small group of people. You don't want to pick something that becomes very difficult. So I always like to start with the math when it comes to selecting a niche. Now here are some key criterias that are also very important when you select a niche, because for all of you advisors, you have enough options to pick a group of people. And when you go and select that, which I'll show you exactly the criterias and the approach of selecting a niche, but here are some key criterias that the niche that you select must have if you want to grow your practice. Number one, the niche must have a big pain point. They all must have a problem, because in the absence of a problem, they're not going to be as interested working with you. Now, the problem also need to be solved with some sort of financial advice and products and solution that you offer. You don't want a niche with a pain point that you can't help, because then obviously it's not going to do any good to you. Number two, the niche must be easy to outreach or attract, which means you must be able to find them and able to reach out to them. Or if you're running an ad like Facebook ad, which is kind of what I prefer and I run for my clients, which is by far the best advertising platform right now for financial advisor to get client, to attract client, then we must be able to find these people and we must be able to get them, because in the absence of us reaching out to them or them reaching out to us, they are not going to obviously be able to take advantage of your products and services. And the last and the most important criteria, this might sound interesting or funny or too simple, is that they must be easy to sell. And again, if they're not easy to sell, then you're going to be working very, very hard. And I don't recommend you work very hard to sell anyone, because if you're having trouble selling somebody, then you really have to go back and take a look at what's going on here, because you probably are trying to go uphill and trying to sell somebody that are not interested in buying. And that is a failure business strategy when it comes to growing your business. I'll give an example of a niche that I know, because we tested that, is a very difficult niche to go after. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't pick that niche. If you really have passion, then you should pick that. But generally, this niche is a very difficult niche to go after and be successful, and that is a small business owner niche. So if you're a financial advisor trying to sell something to small business owner, it's going to be very difficult for you to grab their attention unless you have a great solutions and a great reputation. And we tried doing this because business owners generally are attacked by so many different people who want to sell them all kinds of things. So they are obviously very guarded. And they also seem to already have a financial advisor that they're working with, because people who are starting their businesses are generally pretty smart and they understand business, they understand money and number, at least the successful business owners, and they have already found a financial advisor. They already have somebody they're working with. And that is another big one. The other big problem with business owner niche is that you can't really differentiate or easily tell who is a successful business owner or who is a one person shop who is just working from home, for example, right? And without really having a large business. And they're not going to fit criteria. They don't have any asset, they don't have any income, they just have the title of a business owner. So you end up wasting a lot of time going to these people and having conversation with them with really no potential of them being able to use your solution. So again, a very tough niche. So when you pick a niche, you want to find out a niche again using these criterias, because that will help you. to be able to succeed in your practice. Now let's talk about how do you go about selecting a niche, right? Because all of us have a lot of different options of going and selecting a niche. So first of all, you want to pick something that you have personal connection with, because a lot of financial advisors have some kind of background. So one of my client had he was kind of focusing on a broad group before starting to work with me. And when we started working on the project, and one of the first thing I do with my client is niche selection. And when we looked at his personal experience in past, he had 10 years in sales. And obviously, because he spent 10 years, he knew a lot about sales. He enjoyed selling and sales because he spent many years and he was doing well. And one of the reasons he became financial advisor is because he had sales skill and he wanted to now increase his income and also obviously use his selling skill. So when we looked at that, it became blatantly obvious that he can now help other salespeople with their financial planning. So that was a good example of using your personal past experience or connection to sell. And sometimes it could be your wife is in sales or your spouse is in sales, and that could be a good reason for you to pick a niche, because you have experience, you know something about that particular niche. So that's one way to go and do that. The second thing is you must be passionate about that, right? Whatever niche you select, the fact that you have to spend a lot of time learning about a niche, you're going to be able to solve problem for that niche, and you have to be able to make sense. You have to be able to connect with people in the niche. So having passion about that is extremely important. And this becomes it makes everything very easy. It becomes critical for you to have this thing, and you don't want to select a niche that you have no passion about. So for example, in my case, I enjoy investments, and I've personally been investors. I've done stock investments. I have a huge real estate investment portfolio. When I look at numbers, I have made investments. I understand the return model. I understand the money challenges, and I understand the risk with that. For me, I just enjoy the investing side of the house. I'm an investor at heart, and I understand money. And for me, that reason was also a strong reason to lean and select financial advisor. So picking something that you're passionate around is extremely, extremely important and powerful. And again, you want to pick somebody in niche that you can help the most, right? And this is extremely important because your success is going to be defined by how much you're able to help that group of people, not just because you happen to have an experience in that group, which is still an important criteria, but you must pick something that you can help. That group must be able to be helped, and you must be able to add value to them. And those are some criteria. And if you think about it, there'll be many more. I just wanted to give you some guidance on how do you go about picking a niche. So just take a pen and a piece of paper and just look at these criteria, and that will help you figure out where you want to focus. And if you have any question, send me a note on LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to help you and give you some suggestion on selecting a niche. But again, this is a powerful, powerful approach and selection of what you want to be. Now, again, you don't necessarily have to be in the position as niche. So for example, if you're trying to help divorced people, it is not necessary that you must have gone through a divorce. Okay, now if you have, then it might help, right? Or if your parents have, or if somebody for sure. But in the absence of that, if you still have passion towards helping divorced people, if you have that, then by all means go ahead and select them as a niche. You don't necessarily have, for example, one of my client, he's a male client and he is passionate towards helping women with their finances. Obviously now he's not a woman, but he wants to help women, and that's totally fine, because at the end of the day, what matters is, can he help and add value to the woman client? And if he can, then he wins. If he can, then he doesn't win. Even if that happens to be a woman client, doesn't matter. It might help, obviously, if you have that, but if not, your passion, your willingness to learn, and your ability to create more value is by far the most important thing that you need to focus on. So that is how I would go about selecting a niche. Now, what I'd like to do quickly is I'm going to go on my LinkedIn and I'm going to give you some real life example of how do you go about looking at a niche and how do we do market analysis on niche. So let's do that right now. This is an exercise I just did with one of my coaching clients who have joined a program where I'm helping them create a client acquisition system. but this is going to be an important exercise to show you in practicality how do you go about looking at the niche. So right now I am on my LinkedIn account and I'm on my Sales Navigator search screen where I'm trying to find a group of people. So let's say we are going to do this thing in Chicago area. Okay, so let's say if you happen to be in Chicago and we are looking at all the people in Chicago. So now on LinkedIn right now, the Chicago area shows 3.6 million people, which means everybody in Chicago who has a LinkedIn profile, roughly 3.6 million people. So this is the everybody group. So if you're a financial advisor in Chicago area, then this is a pretty good, or it's not a good target market. This is a big target for you. So obviously this is huge. So we want to narrow it. Now let's say if we go by the titles, if you want to go with sales professionals, okay, so we're just gonna go. So I'm just going to say search sales professional, executive sales professionals. Then we are going to find other sales people. Okay, sales specialist, sales manager, sales executive, sales consultant, sales director. If I just do that, and again I can do more, but if you see what happened here, we came down from 3.6 million to 72,000 people. So if you're a financial advisor in the Chicago area having passion in sales, then this could be a good group of people. Now again, as you see, it's a pretty large group, which means we can easily get 200-300 people from this 72,000 people, right? So again, focusing on a niche is a viable strategy because this group of people can meet our goal. Now we can add more filters in the beginning if you're doing an outreach, and this is typically how I would do it. And what you would do here is you want to find people with a good amount of money. So you can make an assumption that if they have been in sales for more than 10 years, then they must have higher investable asset because generally good salespeople make decent amount of money. Now you look at this amount is 38,000 people, which is still a pretty big size. And that is one way you want to look into filter. Now you can add more filter here as well in terms of their seniority level and so on and so forth, but let me just search here to give you an idea what that looks like. So now if you come here, these are all the salespeople in Chicago area, right? If you see here, there are some more filters on top. So 1,400 salespeople change job in the 90 days. Again, a good IRA opportunities to do some transfer, for example, or also if salespeople have changed a job. Let's go and select here, for example. You'll see that these are salespeople that made change in their job. Now, when salesperson changes job, chances are they are making more money in the new job, or sometimes salespeople change jobs because they made a ton of money in previous job, and their quota was increased in the previous job, and they don't see that they can meet quota. And I personally used to be in sales for many years. I sold over $150 million. I was working for a technology company, and a lot of salespeople in my company would leave after having a great year. In fact, I left my job after having a big sales year, and I sold $54 million deal, made a good amount of money, and I left. Now I left to start my business and things of that nature, but people leave job. Chances are a lot of these people who are here, who change their job, made good money, which means they have some money to invest. That's the reason I'm telling you all that. So that's the way to think about it. Also, you see here 4,000 people are active on LinkedIn. They have posted something in the past 30 days, which means if you reach out to them on LinkedIn, you are going to be able to get response from them. So if I was a financial advisor in Chicago, and if I have passion towards sales, then this would be a good niche as an example, right? Now there are certain niches that you will not find easily on LinkedIn. For example, single mom, divorced people. This is going to be incredibly impossible almost to see if this person is married or divorced and all that. So, depending upon your niche, you need to find a right marketing channel to go after that. And again, this is what I do with my clients. We look at the niche and we figure out what is the best approach of reaching out to them. Can we use LinkedIn? If not, then we must use Facebook. And if you can't use Facebook, If your company doesn't allow Facebook advertising or any of that, then you should pick a niche that you can find on LinkedIn. And there are many niches. So again, niche selection is a key element, and there are few criteria that you need to follow to be able to have a niche, but then more importantly, being in a position to reach out to these people and start to have a conversation about your products and services. The other thing which I like to show you is, say, so if you have passion towards sales, and let's say if you have decided to go after salespeople, so in addition to approaching them, connecting with them, finding them, that's one part of it. But we also talked about how do you understand the challenges of salespeople. So obviously, what I recommend is you can just go to Google and search. So for example, I was searching on challenges for single parent, if that's a niche. And if you see here, this is an article on Google, and you'll see all these are challenges that are faced by a single parent. And there is one challenge that leads into some kind of financial things. It says there used to be two paycheck coming into household. Now there is only one. So if you're focusing on single parent niche, which is an amazing niche, by the way, now you can't find that on LinkedIn, but it's a great niche. This is a big problem. So going back to my point about focusing on problem. So if you are a financial advisor who can find a solution to this problem for single parent, you will win big, because there are many single parents and they all struggle with this major problem. And being able to solve this is critical. And similarly, we can just go online and just type top challenges for sales. Now, when I say top challenges, it doesn't really have to, be financial challenges, right? It could be any, challenges. So just go and read some blogs, and you'll find all the different challenges, and then you should just think about how does this challenge impact their financials. So, for example, closing challenges, right? So, if a salesperson is not able to close deals, then it must be impacting their income. Now, obviously, you cannot solve the closing challenges necessarily, but when you reach out to them, understanding the problem they have in their mind becomes important when it comes to you messaging them. And you will find some challenges, let's keep looking, that will also allow financial implication. And let's say 8 top sales challenges. There are a lot of reports on 2018 sales challenges, and again you'll find 10 of these: prospecting, customer needs, negotiations, buyer decisions, managing accounts, preserving margins, selling skills, team selling. And yeah, so these are like really big challenges, and this is how you can find problems. And also, by the way, this is a great article to be shared with your niche, because your niche is, if it is salespeople, they would benefit reading this article. So if you want to be top of mind, you can just send this link and say, hey John, I found this article and I thought you might find it interesting, and you just share the article. Again, that keeps you on top of mind. So again, simple strategies to connect with them. But again, these are some ways, and this is how I do research on my niche and trying to find the problems. I'm always searching for challenges with financial advisor faces, and you see that me posting on my LinkedIn page and so on and so forth. So that becomes a way to research and find. So use LinkedIn, use Google, and other sites to find the problem niche faces, and then go back and help those people solve those problems. And if you do that, well, you have a good chance of being a successful financial advisor in that niche. So with that said, I'd like to just summarize our discussion today. So what we covered today was niche is a best strategy for a financial advisor. And it's again not just a marketing strategy, but it is a strong business strategy to focus. And focusing is one of the key things that we all need to do in our business. So the action for you today would be go ahead and start picking a niche if you don't have one already. And if you want any help, if you have any questions, send me a note on LinkedIn, or you can send me email at deepak@corefunnels.com, and I'll be happy to answer a question that you have around niche. But I hope you found this video useful. Please share with other advisors that you know can benefit from this. And I look forward to speaking with you very soon. Thank you.